Chiefs got a W. What does it mean next, especially with new blood in town on the offensive line? Coming up today, live on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back in, everybody. We appreciate you joining on a special live edition of Locked On Chiefs tonight, because sometimes you just got to get out there and make it happen. It's been a day, but we're brought to you by FanDuel. Check them out. You can get $150 back on bonus bets if you can win a $5 bet. Make one, win one, get it done at FanDuel.com. We're going to have a little bit of fun today, as long as my voice will hold out. It's been interesting so far, so please bear with me, and we do appreciate your support. This is Chris Clark from over on KC Chiefs Corner. I got to get my thumb in frame these days. You can check him out and everything that he's doing over there. I'm over at NFL33.com and RGR Football. You can find me there. We've been doing this show for 8 years, and very few games have been as frustrating for me as this last one. So we're going to get to it all, and we're going to change it up a little bit. Thanks to some of our fan intervention, especially our buddy Justin. We're going to take questions later on in the last segment of this show, and we're going to get to, before that, the comebacks and the letdowns, the things that have to be updated and we have to be aware of going into this week against the Raiders on a short week, on a holiday week. And we're going to start with the new news, as Travis would put it, and get there. You can check us out also at 816-357-8781 for our Locos line. That is our everyday Locos listeners. We appreciate you guys. We couldn't do it without you. So check out the text line there. A lot going on here. And I have not put anything up on RJR Football specifically to the frustration of it, but this is a team that's underperforming. We talked about that live. We understand where they might go. And there's a lot of hope today based on that performance and understanding that Mahomes got sped up a little bit by some of the pass rush, that there's a new offensive tackle in town. A lot of rumor going on, a lot of opinion going on out there. DJ Humphries is the signing. He's coming off an ACL tear for quite a long time. He has finished his recovery and he's cleared to go. From what I understand, he's passed a physical. It doesn't necessarily mean that he is 100% game shape. So I personally would not feel comfortable starting him right out the gate, 3 days in Kansas City or whatever it's going to be. How do you feel? What do you hear? And what do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think that they need to make a move. They need to do something to get their offensive line playing better. And I'm really not sure how that's going to work out. Sorry, I was looking. It looks like we also got some other news that dropped tonight that Spencer Schrader may not be available for the Raiders game with a hamstring injury. So on to kicker number 3, potentially. Not sure if that's accurate or not, but just saw that dropped right as we were starting to record. So thought I'd at least mention it. They have to make a move at offensive tackle. They have to figure something out. They have to get it to a point where they can at least have a solid left tackle, because it is going to improve everything else. And the other thing that I think actually plays into this even more is if Humphries is a guy that they do decide to start and he becomes their starter for the rest of the season, he is a better run blocker than you have in Wanye Morris. And I think that actually helps them as well.
I
much past just the pass protection. Sorry.
I completely agree if he's 100% healthy, in game shape, and is fully recovered from that ACL. That trifecta is hard to do at this point.
Yep.
Though.
I don't think it happens this week. No way.
I don't either. I don't either. I mean, just the line calls alone, I think would take a little bit of time, but he is a veteran with a lot of experience. So let's see. Hopefully we'll find out here shortly when there's a practice that actually occurs. We'll have a better concept there. But what does he bring? For those of you who have never seen him play, never thought about him playing, he brings experience first and foremost. I don't know that he's ever taken a snap next to Joe Thuney. That would change. And it certainly is something that is specifically towards the left side. This is not a let's flip Juwan and put him at right or anything like that. Humphries would slide in backup right now at left and could possibly play at left. Again, because both the young guys have struggled, whether in technique or whether in injury. Let's all be real. Wanye Morris struggled yesterday at times. He's playing with a bum knee. He's had something else. Didn't start the season. Like, he's pushing through, and I give him credit for making that effort. But we do have to make sure that we do remember he's not 100% either.
No, and I think, credit to him for playing through it and giving them the best chance that they possibly could have to win. Suamataia is not the answer this year. Whether or not he can be the answer in the future is going to be a question. But he obviously wasn't ready and was struggling, and they made a move to Morris, and Morris has stepped in. And while he's played better at times, he's also struggled at times. And the reality is you have to get it to a point where Mahomes trusts the left side, because I think that's also part of the problem. Is it's not just that he's getting pressure there, it's that he doesn't trust it. And you can see it with him bailing out of pockets early. You can see it with him not letting plays develop. But the other side of it, and this is something we kind of talked about on the show yesterday, is part of it's also on Mahomes. Mahomes gets to a point where he starts reading the field more than getting to the back of his drop and getting the ball out in the first or second read. If he gets the ball out quickly, it completely changes how you have to play tackle and could really change how this offense goes going forward.
Yeah, it certainly can. When you talk about what did work, though, there were some of those adjustments that were able to function. We're still able to run the ball pretty decently. I wouldn't say it was excellent, but it was solid. You were able to complete some passes to guys that know what they're doing. Again, the veteran presence helping you along. Obviously, Xavier able to use some of his physical talents to augment that. Those are the things that we're working on offense against the Carolina Panthers that they have to double down on. That list is very, very short on the defensive side of the ball. So that's what we have to get to in terms of comebacks, what has to change, what has to improve, and where do they just have to take a look at what's letting them down and move on from it. There's a couple of concepts there. We're going to get to those coming up next. There's a lot out here. If you want to celebrate and stay connected, for those that are not very close to you, it's very, very simple to get done. Missing someone in this holiday season and you want to make them part of your festivities from afar, you can do that. There are plenty of ways, and one in particular that goes a long, long way to making that satisfaction come through. You can add new photos to this particular perfect gift for the holidays. It's easy to use. It takes 60 seconds to set up, and it's seamless sharing with anyone. It really does make the whole holiday come together visually for the people that you care about. What you need to do right now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, you can get $20 off of your first purchase of the Skylight Frame when you go to skylight.com/NFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. You can get $20 off of your purchase at skylightframe.com/NFL. Go check that out and share your joy with your loved ones. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you all for hanging in with us, especially everybody that came over from another show tonight. Make sure you check out another Locked On show for your next listen or watch, depending on what platform you're on. Like, sub, and hit the bell here because we're always free for you every single day. Couple of comebacks that I do want to point out, meaning that there's progress there. It's hard to see sometimes, especially with the defensive performance that we had yesterday. But Josh Uche getting a few more pass rushes, chances to attack the passer. Now, with Charles Omenihu coming back, I think that's a nice shoehorn to broaden the spectrum of the type of pass rusher you can send at quarterbacks going forward. It was 11 pass rushes yesterday. Still running, I think, somewhere where you have to control the pocket a little bit more rather than running past it. I think that's a work in progress for Josh in this defense, but I do like to see that, and I think that's something that can help in the rotation and the overall health of defensive front going forward.
Yeah, and I do think that they're going to need to figure out a good pass rush rotation because you were looking at bringing a Minihu back like you talked about. Whether or not he comes back this week, that's the big question. If he doesn't play this week, he can still come back and play against the Chargers in a week and a half. And that's maybe a possibility there. They did make the move with Humphreys and added him to the roster. They didn't have to make a roster move because they only had 52, so now they're up to 53. They would have to make 2 moves to bring back both guys for this game, so that's going to be something to watch later this week. But you look at a guy like Uche, who has shown that he has the ability to get around the edge at times and gives you a speed rusher. But FAU has also played better. He has shown more against the run than he has against the pass this year. And so you don't want to completely take him off the field. And it's also a little bit of a problem because you're in a situation where Mike Dana is now back from injury. So now you've got I wouldn't say it's great depth, but you at least have guys that you feel comfortable playing against the run. They're not getting the pass rush you want. That's really kind of where it comes down to, and that's the problem right now.
Yeah, I agree. There are things that can be improved, and it does take a village there on the defensive front. But there are also guys that have to continue to contribute. And it's funny that you bring up the 2 roster spots. I think there's probably a move coming there at running back. I hope that my guy Carson Steele continues to stay on the active roster, but it might be a practice squad demotion there at this point. That is certainly a possibility. We're going to answer your questions coming up in the next segment, folks. Thanks for hanging in with us. We don't always get to questions because the format of the show is usually pretty straightforward, but we're going to get to them after our next break because there are other people to shout out. And I think one of the underlying performances yesterday didn't require a whole lot. But Samaje Perine is another guy that contributed at that running back spot that I don't think you can ignore. It's consistent in both pass and in the run. And when you need something, he was able to turn it up a notch. And I do think that that's something you can't ignore.
No, I agree with you. And I think that is another one where you're sitting there. And I go back to what I said about the defensive ends. You kind of have that same situation almost at the running back position now because Kareem Hunt has played very well. You don't want to completely take him off the field. Now, I will say this. I think if he could get to a point where he's only getting 10 to 15 touches a game total, I think that's going to be very good for their playoff run because he needs to get a little bit more rest than he's been getting and needs a little bit less on the body. And you got Pacheco coming back. And maybe you can't take that much off of Hunt this week. Maybe he's a guy that's going to get 30 touches or 30 snaps or whatever this week because Pacheco, you're going to ease him in this week. But that's also going to be part of it is, what do they make their move on? Clyde hasn't been active at all this year. Carson Steele's at least playing and contributing not just in the running game a little bit and in the passing game a little bit, but also on special teams. He's one of their main kick returners. So I'm not so sure if he's the move that they make. There's big questions. Is it going to be, are they going to release Clyde? I mean, that's possible. There's lots of different ways that this could go, and it's going to be very interesting when you start looking at what they're going to have to do for the roster and how it's going to play out.
You're absolutely correct. It's a puzzle that has to be constantly remanipulated, and we'll have to see what comes of it. I will say this: the other letdown that stood out to me, and it's not necessarily because the defense had a rough day, but I do think his presence alone, whether it's a specific role in the game plan or not, I think you need to have Leo Chanel out there for more than 20 snaps in a ball game. I'm sorry, he played less than a third of the defensive snaps against the Panthers. That's not enough for me. You need that engine. You need that beast mode that he brings, his attitude and his ability to the defense, and that's something that I'll be looking for next week.
I'm going to say something that a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with, and that's fine. 3 catches allowed on 8 targets by Najee Johnson for 41 yards. Yes, he had the penalty. That hurt. I get it. But I think he actually played better than a lot of people will want to give him credit for in yesterday's game. Not only did he play better than I think people are going to give him credit for, but it also came out today that according to PFF, and if you go back and rewatch the Panthers game, and I agree with this to an extent, PFF has grades big time throws. Their QB, Bryce Young, hadn't had 5 big time throws in the entire season. He had 5 big time throws in that one game. There are sometimes players just beat you no matter what you do. I'm not going to say that that's not partially on the defense. I get it. But at the same time, he made plays yesterday, and that sticks out to me. You look at that situation, he upped his game to play against a Super Bowl caliber defense, and he made specific plays. They knew the blitzes were coming. He made plays when he absolutely had to, and he made some throws that on second watch, the defender's probably in almost the best position you could possibly want him in, and yet it's still a first down. It's still moving the sticks, and it hurts. But sometimes, they're out there to get paid too.
Yep, you're not wrong. And it does so happen that the looks that he gets from the Spagnuolo defense is similar to something that he practiced against quite a lot when he was in college. So not unfamiliar. There are a lot of questions as to why that game went. I know you guys have them. Put them in the chat. Put a couple of question marks at the beginning or at the end, and we will try to pick those out. Can't guarantee we get to everyone. We have a segment time allotted here. So get them in now, and we'll get to them right after this. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, and that's right, free online courses right now, including Introduction to Free Market Economics. You can check out some history with the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, and even check out The Great American Story, A Land of Hope. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever you want, you can tune in whenever you want, and you can finish whenever you want. You can go deeper with readings and quizzes and discussions, or just sit back and enjoy the lectures. Go over to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. It's at hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon.
All right, we didn't talk about this, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
First question is coming from me to you. If you had to make the moves, who are the two moves you're making to get to the 53-man roster and bringing back a Minihue and Pacheco?
Who's able to contribute on a daily basis? I respect where he's at, and I'm glad that he's physically healthy. But so far to this point, I don't feel that Clyde's been able to impact the game yet and get active. I think that there's a certain possibility that you could move to IR or go ahead and release him, bring him back right back to the practice squad without anybody trying to steal him away, and continue to let him have that time to ramp up to get in the right frame of mind to then contribute later in the postseason. So that would probably be the first move that I make. Then you have to take
I don't think you could put him on IR because you've already had him on IR this season.
Fair.
If you're going to release him, he's got to go to the practice squad. And while you can do that, his salary is fully guaranteed for the year, so you're going to end up paying him double.
Good point. So yeah, the financial impact of that may preclude that. The other option that I would say, if you want to stay at the running back position because you're bringing one back, unfortunately, is my guy Carson, who could get put back onto the practice squad through the similar maneuver. When you look at having Pops and Kareem and Samaje, like, you got to feel pretty comfortable with that, right? And you can always use a call-up of that kind of thing. I like Carson Steele. I think he's made a valuable contribution to this team to this point this season, but he might be a guy that is just one step below being able to do that come the postseason. So I'm okay with that. I think you also have to be very careful about adding a Minihue back and managing the volume of players that you have on the defensive line as well, whether it's inside or outside. So I would look at probably making a move there. That's so hard a choice for me. I wouldn't like to make it. So I think I know who you would make a move with. What would you think?
I think, honestly, it comes down to Dave Tobe in some ways, because you have to figure out who's going to be your kick returner, because the reality is you can't have Hardman back there on a regular basis. You hope that they don't give up a ton of kick returns, but you can't have a guy that's probably going to be out there and getting some offensive snaps being your main kick returner. And I think Hardman has shown he has value to this offense in certain packages. So I think you don't want him back there as your kick returner on a regular basis. So I do think it has to be Clyde, and maybe you put him on IR and maybe you end up maybe you cut him and you end up doubling him up and have him on the practice squad. He hasn't practiced, or he hasn't played at all this season, and the reality is with that, you have to wonder, is he going to be able to contribute that much down the stretch? And nobody really signed him in the offseason, so I really don't think that you would risk losing him putting him on the practice squad. The other thing, and I think the other move is probably going to be Cam Thomas, just because I cannot see a situation where it's Herring, even though Herring makes sense to an extent. Herring's been playing.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Cam Thomas hasn't been playing. To me, that says enough as to what's going on there. And eventually, I think that you're going to have another move that you have to make with Hollywood Brown, but we'll get to that when it actually comes back up. I did see this. I do want to post this really quick. Nikki, as far as I understand, if you go on IR once, you can't be put on a second time and come back. So yes, if CAH is put on IR, he is done for the season, from my understanding.
Yeah, and I missed that point. Slipped my mind. So thank you for pointing that out, both of you.
This was the first question. When do you think the new left tackle might play? My guess would be at earliest the Chargers game. I'm not going to say he's going to. Well, and I think he'll get snaps. Whether or not he actually starts is another issue. I think he could get some. I don't think he'll get any special team snaps this week. I think he actually is probably not even active this week. But I think he could be active for the Chargers game, get some special team snaps, and maybe start soon after that.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Just as I look here, Chargers game is what, 10 days from now on the 8th? No, that's a little bit more than that. Sorry. I agree with you. I think the Raiders is too early. Short week, not a whole lot of game plan preparation. It was probably game plan was mostly developed last week before you played the Panthers. So I don't know about jumping into that. I don't know that I'd put that pressure on him. I don't buy that he's in shape, given that he was just medically cleared. So I'm not sure there. I would even probably, for me, I would probably even wait a little bit farther than that, because if you're going to make this move, you're going to make this so that you can build momentum into the playoffs. So I'd probably wait till Cleveland myself. That would be on 12-15.
So you don't think he even gets special team snaps until Cleveland?
I wouldn't. I mean, if this is what you think your solution is, I'm not risking it.
That's fair. I just thought special team snaps would give him at least a chance to get in there and get live action. So
yeah, you're right.
I could see that, but it makes sense both ways. I mean, it makes sense that way as well. Tooney has said he's comfortable playing tackle. Is that not something Big Red would consider? I don't think he's going to move Tooney, because the reality is you have a guy, and this is something I didn't think I'd be saying before the season. You have a guy that's playing probably is top 3 left guard or top 3 guard in the NFL still this year. I didn't expect to be saying that. I thought, and he struggled. Don't get me wrong. He struggled, I think, the first couple of weeks when he was coming back. But he has played so much better, and it is a huge step down to put him at left tackle. Not necessarily at left tackle, it's going to be a huge step down, but the left guard that you're going to put in for him is going to be likely Mike Caliendo, and that is a big step down. And I don't think that you want to make that and have 2 positions worse. And the other issue for me on that is then you weaken the interior of the offensive line, who I think has been fantastic, and interior pressure is worse than exterior pressure, in my opinion.
That would be my argument as well. You're weakening 2 positions at one time. I just double checked. Joe Tooney is the highest graded guard in the NFL according to PFF. Now, you guys know what I think about PFF grades, but I will say this too. He has surrendered 6 hurries this season. 6 hurries. No hits, no sacks. So I'm not doing that on an interior rush that is quicker to get to Patrick, who's already getting pressure. So I'm doing whatever I can to shore up the outside. I would not make that move. Would Andy consider it? I know he trusts Joe Tooney, so he might think about it. But I think overall for the line itself, for the top 5, I don't think that would happen myself.
My big thing is if you really want to short up and you can't do it any other way, put a tight end out there and just let him go. Or run 6 offensive linemen and just let it go.
Ding, ding, ding. I'd go 6-0 lineman any day of the week.
Especially this week against the Raiders, who are likely going to be without Minshew and are likely playing Desmond Ridder or Aiden. Well, it could be Aiden O'Connell. He's eligible to come back from IR this week, but I'd really be considering running the ball a ton this week.
Yeah, I agree. Anything to be said about Spencer doing a post-game presser while possibly being added to the injury report? Don't players that are injured not do pressers for the most part? And he would have been, because he kicked Like, he would have been probably being examined during the post-game presser. I haven't seen it from any legitimate source that I trust that he's actually injured. So until that's reported by someone I know, I'm not even going to go there that it's happened.
Okay, well, fair enough. I just saw a lot of different people talking about it that seemed to have some comments that he is injured and thought it was interesting considering we're doing this live anyway.
I'll say this too. If that were the case, on a short week, they'd have already made an announcement of a signing. It would be my guess.
Maybe. But they're going to be practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so We'll see. We'll know tomorrow.
We definitely will.
Already got this one. And don't know when Spencer got hurt, if he did get hurt, which we already talked about. Who is the third kicker?
Matt Araiza.
No, Justin
and Carson
Reed.
Wentz is the backup holder, right? I don't know. I don't know that Justin Reed is.
Actually, I think he would be. If it happened in a game, I think that they put Justin Reed back there because you have seen so much more of Jaden Hicks playing in the secondary. I understand that they don't play the same exact position, but they've been playing a ton of Hicks lately, and I think that gets to the point where they're starting to feel comfortable with him in the defense. So I do think that they would put him out there to kick if they felt like they needed to. And this is a fun one. Ryan, do you want to answer this question?
No, that's not my job. You are the cap analyst around here.
Yes, everything counts against the salary cap. This time of year, so once final cuts go down, every single player, whether they're on IR or PUP list or practice squad or anything, counts against the salary cap. So all these players are paid about $225,000 for the year, which is divided by 18 for the practice squad. It's a little different if they have more experience, like a Lucas Niang. I think it's paid like $350,000 a year, 360, something like that, because he has so many accrued seasons, which is how they base your pay. But yes, all of that counts against the salary cap. So that goes also into situations where, you talk about a guy like Cole Christensen, who actually just ended this past week his last time he could be called up. He's been called up 3 times on the practice squad this year, so they cannot call him back up. But his practice squad salary was like $16,000 a week because it's the $225,000. But if you get called up from the practice squad, you get a full game paycheck, which is like 3 times that, so $48,000. So that's why when you look at the salary cap at the end of after the end of cuts, you'll have maybe $3 to $5 million. That's why, because they have to be able to sign players to the active roster if you have injuries, and you have to be able to call up practice squad players. So that's all something that is taken into account here. So thank you for the question, Joe. Lots of different things that go into that. But yes, everything is on the salary cap as of the end of the preseason.
Dollars and cents. That's what it comes down to, just like it does for us. And folks, thank you for being with us on what is an extra live edition on a Monday night. Go finish Monday Night Football. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk with Matt Derrick, and we will get ready for your preview. All kinds of information coming as the Chiefs get ready to take on the Raiders on a short week, on a holiday. We hope you guys are ready. Get your turkeys. Get ready. Do a ham. Do whatever you're doing. Just be careful with the deep frying turkeys. I know those are always a little bit tricky. So please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, hit us on all the platforms everywhere because we're always free. And check out KC Chiefs Corner, NFL 33, and RGR Football. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you tomorrow.